Peace, my name is Apani B Fly, Apani B. I've been having this conversation with people a lot lately, like what it was like for us. It was kind of like I don't know, it was just kind of in the air, you know. I started writing when I was probably 13, 14 or so. And I can't tell you exactly what song or, you know, whatever made me want to write my first verse, but I was always into like writing poetry, writing stories, and like performing in school and in church, and like I was in a glee club, you know, stuff like that. So I guess I was kind of like a natural ham or whatever. But I don't know, I kind of just started writing and I just never stopped, you know. And next thing you know, like I'm all my friends are doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Not that I was necessarily like looking for friends who do what I do, but like, you know, that's who I wound up hanging out with, like, you know, other people who make beats or, you know, write rhymes and stuff. And, you know, we went from banging on the tables and wearing a backpack every day to making records. It was just that simple. Somebody was like, "Hey kid, you rap so good, I want to pay you." I would say, you know, like growing up in Queens, like I said, you know, it was just kind of in the air when we were young, like, you know, listen to college radio, that kind of thing. And, you know, certain records, you know, I really loved, certain artists I really love, like Slick Rick and, you know, Rakim and Queen Latifah, frickin' Frack, LL Cool J, you know, just listening to certain records was just like, wow, they were just kind of really powerful to me. I remember going to barbecues in the summertime and everybody was ciphering, you know, kind of just saying my little rhymes and everybody was like, "Oh, you got skills, shorty," you know. So things like that, you know, kept me wanting to continue. And, you know, same thing, like just, you know, meeting people and people like, "Yo, you know, you got something," you know what I mean? So those are good. I think maybe my biggest moment was meeting Bobbito. You know, everybody used to listen to Stretch and Bobbito on the radio, and he used to host the show at the New Yorican, you know. So I went down there with my demo and gave it to him, and I got on the mic. It was an open mic, and I was scared to death. And I couldn't even look at people. I used to have locks back in the day, so I used to wear head wraps a lot. And I just took my wrap off and put it over my eyes. Like I couldn't, I was shook. You know, like I said, I ciphered and I had crew and like people told me I was dope, but it was like, you know, it was the New Yorican, which is like, you know, it's not like a Rock the Bell stage or, you know, Hot 97, you know. But it was my Rock the Bells, and I guess in Hot 97 at that time, I was scared. It was something that was really kind of natural, you know. I wanted it, but I didn't even have to really chase it that hard. And I guess, you know, I left out one of my big moments in life was at one time when I was young, I was in my teens, I hooked up with this local manager who was also managing a group called STP, Simply Two Positive MCs, which turned out to be Organized Confusion. That was their name before Organized Confusion. And having Prince and Pharaoh as my mentors were kind of big for me. Like they changed how I saw things, you know. And OC was always around at the time too. So, you know, these were kind of people who shaped me when I was younger. But it was just that thing, like I said, it wasn't even something that I was like chasing it that hard. I was just doing it. And in the midst of doing it, I was just around all these folks like Matt Dew, who used to, who did that album cover, the Extinction Agenda cover, which is classic. You know, he was a good friend of mine just from the hood. You know what I'm saying? I was hanging out with him before I was hanging out with Prince and Pharaoh and those guys. Rock Wilder, live around the corner from me. You know what I'm saying? So I used to hang out and chill with Rockwilder like all the time, like it was nothing. You know what I'm saying? Coming from school, we used to go to Hot Wax record store. So, Tempest, DJ Sage, a bunch of people, that used to produce for different people. My boy Casper, they were like kind of in the game making beats for people. They was just folks that was around, so, I don't know. I just, I guess I just got lucky. I was kind of in the right place at the right time, and I had a lot of positive influences. I was hungry, and, a lot of, like I said, my peers were making records, you know what I mean? Like, and even going to the open mics, I was just meeting other people that was hungry. I used to hang out when Kweli used to still work at Inkiru Books. He got off work early on Fridays, and I got off work early on Friday. We used to just hang out on Fridays in Brooklyn, all the time. Or in the city, we just go kick it, Jean, there was not that many. Like now everybody's rapping, but there was only a handful of us back in the day. We was all going to the same places, you know what I mean? So, we became, really cool. And it was just kind of a thing where it was just something everybody was doing. We were just getting on records together, and people was, getting their little deals. I met Mr. Complex through Pharaoh, and then got on his record. Next thing you know, he was like, hey, you want to get on this record with me and Shabam and Spinner? And then I had something going on with Nervous, and I played them the record. And he swears he told me not to, but he didn't. But I played them the record. Next thing they were like, hey, you should be a group. You want to make an album? We were like, yeah, we need a name. So then we became Polyrhythmatics, So it was like just things kind of just flowed naturally. Everybody was getting a deal. I started calling, I met people. I was working at distribution companies. I was like, hey, I got some records. You want to put them out? They were like, yeah. Bobita was like, hey, I want you to do this Nike commercial and get in the magazine. And I knew Carmela from 555 Soul. She was like, hey, come down to the warehouse and get bags full of clothes. It was just like, I never really got much resistance. Like, you hear people tell you the conventional thing, like, you need to get something to fall back on. You need a job, or you need a real job. But the more things that were happening to me, it's one thing when you writing rhymes in your notebook and carrying around a backpack, which I did for many years. Like I said, from the time I was a teenager, I had, I could barely, when I started rhyming, I could barely rhyme on a beat. I had no beats. You know what I'm saying? I was just, I guess reaching for something, you know what I'm saying? And it wasn't something that anybody, I guess, really took serious until things started happening. When I was like, hey, my song's on the radio, or I was like, hey, somebody's paying me to go to France, they were like, okay, we're proud of you. Here's some money to spend. You know what I'm saying? But I had my ups and downs. Like, it hasn't been perfect. Being an artist is a hard profession, and like I said, sometimes it's bittersweet, but I've always had support. My family, I think people take you as serious as you take your craft, many years down the line, like, what can they say? Like, okay, it wasn't a fad. I went on tour with Bahamadia, which was really cool because it was like great going out with another female as opposed to always being with dudes all the time. So that was cool. And but I say my most memorable, my favorite experiences are probably in Japan. It's an incredible city to look at aesthetically, with the technology and different parts of town and the different personalities and different places, from like Shibuya to like Daikanyama and Akihabara and different places. But like my first trip when I went with Nujabes was really dope. When I did my work with him was really, really good. I mean, it was good for a lot of reasons too, because I have family that was over there teaching. So I stayed for a long time, and I got to hang out with like my favorite cousin in Japan, which was really cool. And how I got there was actually funny. She's the reason I got there, which was funny. It was a funny, funny story. So you asked me how my family felt, right? So she's in this town called Chiba, which is really where Tokyo Disney and Tokyo Airport is. It's in Chiba. And she's going to her local bar. And in the bathroom, the bar owner had my record hanging on the wall. So she's like, hey, that's my cousin. He's like, yeah, I would like to get her over here for a show. And I have a friend who makes beats, and he'd like to do some work with her probably, who was Nujabes. So, you know, I didn't know who the hell he was. I'm just like, hey, I'm going to Japan. Sweet. You know what I'm saying? So I wound up being there for a really long time, and then I went to Australia after that, and then back to Japan. I was pretty much gone like for the whole summer, you know, my first time out there, which was really great. And like I said, I got to stay with family. You know, I had a lot of cool experiences there. You know, I mean, they were all great. I've been to Japan a bunch of times. I met my husband, my first husband there in Japan. So I wound up going back, you know, many more times. But Japan is very special to me. I was loving it so much, you know, I don't think I always saw the business part objectively in the things that I needed to do. I mean, and somehow I still wound up, you know what I'm saying, having a lot of good things happen to me. But I think just kind of getting out of my own way and being able to kind of look at the situation differently. And especially now, I think the fact that I made it to this day and time where everything is so DIY. You know, you can kind of do things yourself. And I'd always been doing things myself, but you kind of always were. Back then, you still had to suck on the teat of some type of label or distribution entity, you know, to do your thing. Like now, there's not as much distance between you and the people. Before, if you wanted to know who was listening to your record or what your statistics were, what your sales were, you couldn't go online and Google stats in any of these, you know, in your Bandcamp or, you know, in your SoundCloud and see actually where people are listening to you from. You know, you had to go to the label and try to get reports and see from the royalties and, you know, different things like that, what you were doing. There's records that I sold many years ago that I still see selling on the internet, and I know I haven't gotten a royalty check for it in a while. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I think just having come so far and then still being relevant, you know what I'm saying, kind of just taught me, I want to say it the right way, it taught me several things, the value of taking the lead in my own business and understanding my own value and not putting that value into the hands of others. You know, certain things I did kind of benefited me in a way. You know, I've been gone for a few years and kind of came back. I had children, you know, and I was in a whole different state. I came back and people like, wow, you're just kind of just jumping in like, you know, like you never left. And I, you know, when I was gone and I was living my life, it didn't seem like, you know, I never thought that I couldn't. You know what I'm saying? I never thought that I couldn't just do what I want to do when I felt like doing it, you know. But I like this time now. I like that everything is so transparent and you're able to actually touch people and talk to people whose music, who listen to your music, you know, and your music touches. So you got to be persistent, you know, and you can't give up on yourself. You can't give up on your dreams. You can't get frustrated when things don't, you know, always go the way you want them to, you know. My music has actually got me a lot of different things. Like, you know, I've been written up in books and I've had my work cited in like college texts and stuff like that. And, you know, it's nice. It's cool to, you know, to be a rapper and all that stuff. But to be kind of appreciated while you're alive, you know, and you know, recognized for being an artist. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you know, my work as an artist, not just writing raps and trying to be famous and trying to be cool, but like, you know, I take the art part very seriously. So to have that recognized, I'm very, very proud of. I want my work to have been appreciated, you know, and not just as an artist to have other interests. Like I said, I'm a mother. I want my children to turn out to be good people, you know, and leave a positive impact more than anything, because your children are really the story that you tell about who you are when you're gone, what kind of people you left behind and raised. So that's pretty important to me right now, being a mother. And you know, other than that, I'm pretty appreciative that people who reach out to me tell me that my music kind of touched them in some kind of way, or you know, they relate to it. So you know, just that, like, you know, you never know. Especially now that I'm older, you know, I'm pretty vocal about my life and things that I go through. You know, I don't have any shame in my story, and I feel like you never know who's going through something, who needs to hear what you have to say. You know, so you know, shame is useless. When I'm dead 50 years from now or 60, 70 years from now, you know, is it going to matter? I'll be dead. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? And the story changed. We don't remember, you know, you remember certain things. You know, you hear things about, you know, famous people in history, you know, Caesar, Cleopatra, whoever, and they've been long dead, and the little idiosyncrasies and things that people find embarrassing and shit like that. Nobody talks about now. You know what I'm saying? You talk about the great things, you know, all of the cream always rises to the top. You know, so, you know, I just kind of just trying to live my life without fear. And, you know, I guess I want people to say that, like, she was honest and she didn't have any fear. She left good people behind.